Morning, happy Tuesday. I hope you had a fantastic Easter weekend, that you got to spend some time with your family, that you got to get outside, and even though it's kind of a weird time, you still were able to enjoy it. But back to work now. So we're going to start with math. Today, you will need your fraction packet. We're almost done with this thing. We will be on lesson 15.6. A lot of word problems here. You'll need a pencil. And you get to keep watching this video. So, here we go. So 15.6 is about sequencing information, putting it in order. It also is going to make us find equivalent fractions. So let's do a few together. So number 1, Ben practices piano for 1 2/3 hours. Charlene practices flute for 3/4 of an hour, or 3/4 of an hour. Walter practices drums for 1.5 hours. Who practices for the most time, the least? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the whole numbers. So I have a 1 here, and a 1 here, and I have no whole numbers there. So if I don't have a whole number, this is me less than one whole, right? So my least would be 3/4 of an hour, and that would be Charlene. So I'm going to put Charlene is least. Now I'm going to go back and compare these two. So I have 1 2/3 and 1.5. To compare, we cross multiply. So 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4. Which one's bigger? 2/3. So Ben was the one who practiced for 1 2/3. So he practiced for the most. Okay, let's look at number 2. Sarah cuts 3 lengths of ribbon. The first piece is 4 5/8 inches long. The second piece is 3 1/4 inches long. The third piece is 4.5 inches long. Which piece of ribbon is the longest, the shortest? Make sure you're not using this as part of your problem. That's just telling me how many pieces there were. So to start, I'm going to look at the whole numbers again. I have a 4, a 3, and a 4. So my smallest is going to be 3 1/4. So 3 1/4 is the shortest. And now I'm going to go back and compare. So I have 4 5/8, 4.5. I'm going to cross multiply my fractions. So 8 times 1 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. That means 4 5/8 is greater. So 4 5/8 is the longest. Number 3, I don't have any whole numbers. I can see it before I even start reading the problem. But I do notice that these are all improper fractions, which will still work. Joyce naps for 8/5 hours. Rex naps for 5/3 hours. Maya naps for 5/4 hours. Who takes the longest nap, the shortest? So I'm going to grab a piece of paper so it's easier to read and compare these. So I'll have 8/5 and 5/3. This is where we're going to cross multiply all of them. 8/5 and 5/4. And then 5/3 and 5/4. I'll cross multiply, so I have 25, 24. So this one's greater. I have 25. I have 32. So that one's greater. And I have 15, and I have 20, so that one's greater. So it says, who takes the longest nap? I'm going to look for the one that's circled twice. I have 5/3 circled twice, that'd be the longest, and that was Rex. So Rex takes the longest. And then the one without any circles will be my shortest, and that is 5/4. That was Maya. Shortest. Let's just do a couple more on this page. Betsy, Letitia, and Ramon eat a pizza pie. A pizza pie. Betsy eats 2/8 of the pie. Letitia eats 1/4 of the pie. Ramon eats 3/8 of the pie. Which two children eat the same amount of pie? So it's asking for same amount, so I'm guessing when I cross multiply, they're going to be two numbers that are equal. They're both going to have one circle or two. If I circle in both. Anyway, let's do it over here again where we have some more room. So you can actually see. So we have 2/8, 1/4, 2/8, 3/8. You know, I'm overcomplicating this because these are the same, right? 2/8 and 3/8, they have the same denominator. So I just can look at this and know, okay, 3/8 is bigger than 2/8. So now I can just compare 2/8 to 1/4. Let's do that instead. Start with. So 8 times 1 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. Oh, these two are equal, 2/8 and 1/4. So it says, which two children eat the same amount of pie? Well, I just figured that out because 2/8 is equivalent to 1/4. So Betsy ate 2/8. And Letitia ate 1/4. So they ate the same amount. Now this one, you are graphing on a number line. 5/12 and 1/3. So Raul and Marty bake 12 muffins. Raul brings 5/12 of the muffins. Marty brings home 1/3 of the muffins. This one's divided into 12s. So I'm going to count up 5 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, that doesn't seem right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. I was thinking this was the halfway marker, but it's not. It's just a 5/12. Weird. Anyway, and 1/3 right here. So who brought home more muffins? So I'm going to look. 5/12 looks like it's greater than 1/3. So Raul brought home more muffins. These ones are similar to what we just did. Let's talk about number 7. Zach makes this number line. Between which two fractions would you place 3/8? This is where I have to find the equivalent fraction because my number line is in fourths. So I'm going to turn 3/8 into an equivalent fraction of fourths. So whatever I do the denominator, I have to do the numerator and vice versa. So 8 and divide it by 2 to get to 4. But I can't divide 3 by 2. Three-eighths. So I'm going to use my number line. So if I have 2/4, I'm getting to eighths. I'm going to times them both by 2. So it'd be 2/4 equals 4/8, right? And I'm trying to get 3/8. So if 2/4 is 4/8, 1/4 is how many eighths? 2/8. So between which two fractions would you place 3/8? Be right there, right? So between 1/4 and 2/4. Same thing with this one, you're doing 5/6. So I'm going to figure out, let's start with 1/3. How many 6 would that be? Well, that'd be 2/6 because I'm multiplying both by 2. So that's too small. Let's try 2/3. If you have to 6 times it by 2, 4/6. So that'd be right here before 6. 3. 3 is a whole number. So 3 would be 6/6. 6 out of 6. So it'd have to be between 4/6 and 6/6, right? So it'd be between 2 and 4/6. which is 2/3, sorry. 2 and 2/3 and 3. And I just realized up here I did not put the numbers back in front, so I need 2 1/4 and 2 2/4. Or I'll still be wrong because this had whole numbers. Have to have those. On the back, you are doing similar things. Toward in the front right there, which you don't have to do, but we are going to talk about these ones. Some of them anyway. Number 5. Jose and his friends made cookies. They each ate 2 cookies. Jose took 10 cookies to school and gave 6 cookies to his neighbor. What fraction of the cookies did Jose take to school? So first we need to figure out how many he had total. So he ate 2. He took 10 to school, so 2 plus 10 is 12. He gave 6 to his neighbor, so 12 plus 6 would be 18. So my fraction so far is something out of 18. What fraction of cookies did Jose take to school? He took 10 to school. So 10/18 of the cookies. And then let's do number 7. Lisa bought 2 rolls of film. Each roll holds 24 pictures. If Lisa has 1/3 of a roll left, how many pictures did she take? Okay. So she bought 2 rolls of film. Each roll holds 24 pictures. So first we'll figure out how many pictures she took total. It's 24 times 2, which is 48. And she has 1/3 of a roll left. So I'm going to figure out 1/3 of 48. So it's our new division problem. So the 48 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 4 one time. Multiply, subtract, bring down. 3 goes into 18 how many times? 6, right? 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract is 0. So 1/3 of a roll is 16 pictures. So she has 16 left. Now I need to know how many she took altogether. So I'm going to take my total, which is 48, minus 16, and I get 32. So she took 32 out of 48. So it's not really asking for a fraction, just saying how many pictures did she take. So my answer would be 32 pictures. If you want to work more on these, if you think you need some extra practice, feel free, be my guest. But now the thing you're going to work on that's going to be the graded part is your IXLs. So hop back over to IXLs and I'll try to do. Okay, so our IXLs are P23 and 24, finding smaller or larger fractions and then converting between an improper fraction and a mixed number. So let's click on P23 first. We'll do a couple. So it says choose a fraction on the number line that is greater than 1/8. Well, here's 1/8. So I'm just going to pick any number that's greater, submit it. Choose a fraction on the number line that is greater than 1/4. There's 1/4. Any fraction. It won't let me pick a whole number. Perfect. I'm going to move myself up here so I actually see better. Less than 9/12. Pick one. Let's see if they get a little bit more difficult. Choose a fraction number line is greater than 5/8. Oh, that's pretty much the same thing. Still checking to see if there's one that gets a little harder. Okay, this one, less than 3/4. Everything else is in eighths, but it still shows me where 3/4 would be, right? So now anything that's less than anything to the left of the number line is going to be less. So submit that. Greater than 2/6. Jump in a level. So now this one says less than 5/6, but it's not marking where 5/6 is, and this is in 12ths. The number line's in 12ths. This is where I'm going to have to make an equivalent fraction. So I'm going to take 5/6, and you can do this on a piece of paper or a whiteboard, wherever you have, and I'm going to convert it into 12ths. So remember, the basic rule for an equivalent fraction, whenever I multiply the denominator or the numerator by, I have to do the opposite. I have to do the same thing with the opposite. So this one, I know the denominator has to be 12ths, and my denominator right now is 6, so I know what times 6 gets me to 12? 2. So I have to multiply the numerator by 2, and I get 10/12. So when I select mine, it's going to be, has to be less than 10/12. So here's 10/12, so I'm going to pick anything less and submit that. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Okay. So now one that is greater than 1/4. And this is in eighths again. So I'm going to take 1/4 and I'm going to find the equivalent fraction for 1/4 to eighths. So 4 times what gets me to 8? Well, 4 times 2 gets me to 8. So then I got to take 1 times 2. So 2/8. So anything greater than 1/4 means anything greater than 2/8. So I can pick 7/8. And that is what you're doing. So if your fraction isn't on there like 1/5, I have to find the equivalent fraction in tenths. Pretty simple. Let's look at the other one. This one is converting between an improper fraction and a mixed number. So right now I have 17/8 as a mixed number. Remember, if I'm going from an improper fraction to a mixed number, I'm dividing. So I'm going to take 8. Sorry, my handwriting is not good on the computer. Or 17 divided by 8. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, how many times does 8 go evenly into 17? 8 times 2, right? 16. So I'm going to subtract. Remainder 1. So now I'm converting this into my fraction. So this is my whole number. So 2. Space. My remainder is my numerator. So I put a 1 there. And then my denominator stays the same, and it's 8s. Okay. Do one more though. So I have 19/4. So I'm going to take 19 divided by 4. How many times is 4 going to 19 evenly? Count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. 20 is too big, so it's 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. Subtract. I have 3 left over, nothing to bring down, so that's my remainder. So when I type this in, my whole number is 4. My remainder is my numerator. My denominator stays the same. And there we go. Now I'm doing the opposite. Now I'm taking a mixed number, making it into an improper fraction. So this one is pretty simple. Remember, you multiply the denominator and the whole number. So what's 5 times 3? 5 times 3 is 15. And then you add the numerator. So I have 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. And my denominator stays the same as 3. So it's 16 divided by 3. Or 16 over 3. Or 16/3. So many ways to say fractions. We'll do one more. So multiply the denominator and the whole number. So 2 times 8 is 16. Then add the numerator. 16 plus 1 is 17. Keep the denominator the same. Ta-da! And that's what you're doing. So working your way in P23, P24 to 80%. If you have any questions, get a hold of me. Or otherwise you can, let's say I can't remember, I can get one wrong on purpose, and then it will give me the nice explanation if I follow it. And it tells you the rules over again. So it's kind of helpful. So good luck. Have a good rest of the day. See you tomorrow. Well, no, I won't see you tomorrow. I'll see you at reading, unless you're not in reading with me. Otherwise, yeah. Have a good rest of the day.